The studio was quiet at first, the way a stage feels right before a show begins. The lights hummed, the microphones blinked, and the crew worked in practiced silence. It was a routine shoot, nothing unusual on the surface, but Sheeta Sween could already tell that something about the night felt heavier than normal. She stood behind the main monitor, headset on, eyes sharpened. Producing stories for the channel wasn't just her job. It was her instinct. She watched everything, the way guests breathed, the tone they used, the pauses they didn't mean to give. She knew when someone was hiding something before they ever admitted it. Across the set, Bilal Hayes' eyes adjusted his mic pack, the comm center in a room full of nerves. He had hosted enough emotional segments to know when a story had depth. He could feel when a guest was ready to open up, and when they were building walls. Tonight's guest, Nicole, wasn't building a wall. She was building a stage. Nicole sat in a tall velvet chair, her posture perfect, her smile carefully crafted, the kind of smile that didn't reach the eyes. She had walked in 10 minutes late, apologizing in a voice that rose and fell too smoothly, like she'd practiced it in the car. "Is everyone ready?" the camera operator asked. "Rolling," the sound tech replied. "Camera A speed. Camera B speed. Camera C speed." Sheeta tapped the switcher. Scene 1. And action. The night officially began. Nicole crossed her legs, smoothed her hair, and took a breath. She began her story softly, almost hesitantly. "I never thought I'd be here telling this," she said. Her voice trembled just enough to look real on camera. Bilal nodded encouragingly. "We appreciate you trusting us with it." Nicole exhaled, her hands tightening slightly around each other. "It's about someone I loved," she continued, "and how badly that trust was broken." She described her ex-partner in detail. His charm, his lies, the way he manipulated her life. The crew listened the way they always did, professionally but absorbed. Emotional stories were their specialty, and Nicole delivered hers with the precision of an actress, hitting the exact mark of every line. But Sheeta noticed something. Nicole wasn't thinking between sentences. She was performing. Still, the story had structure, rhythm, and tension. Everything a good episode needed. Sheeta let the camera run, adjusting angles with smooth signals to the crew. Nicole leaned forward. Her voice thickened, strengthening with emotion. "I found out he cheated on me for months," she said. "I confronted him, and he denied everything. But I had proof." Proof. The entire room felt that word. Bilal leaned in. "What kind of proof?" Nicole hesitated. The hesitation wasn't natural. It was too clean, too timed. "A receipt," she said finally. "And a photograph. Something that showed he was exactly where he shouldn't have been." Her voice cracked. The camera caught it beautifully, but Sheeta's stomach tightened. Because when guests had proof, they always brought it. They always wanted to show it. They always wanted validation. Nicole didn't offer to show anything. She only said she had it. "Do you have the evidence with you tonight?" Bilal asked. Nicole blinked fast. "No. I left it at my old apartment. I can bring it tomorrow." Something dropped in the room, soundless but heavy. A shift too subtle for viewers to notice but unmistakable to anyone who had worked long enough behind the scenes. Sheeta didn't say a word, but her eyes narrowed. This wasn't just dramatic pacing. This was the first crack. Still, the shoot continued. As the interview deepened, Nicole's emotions ramped up. Her breathing changed. Her voice shook. Tears slipped out at the exact moments people usually cried in scripted dramas. Sheeta's instincts sharpened. People telling the truth don't control their tears. People lying sometimes do. But the cameras loved Nicole. Her face was expressive in a way that editors adored, clear emotion. No dead angles, no awkward pauses. Bilal handled her with steady, empathetic pacing. "When did you start to suspect the truth?" he asked. Nicole swallowed hard. "The night before my birthday," she said. "I saw a message on his phone. He denied it again, but that's when I took that photograph." There it was again. The photograph. A piece of evidence she was very confident about, but didn't have. Sheeta leaned closer to the monitor. "Watch her hands," she whispered to the assistant director. Nicole's fingers twisted into each other. She wasn't just emotional. She was stressed. But the shoot still flowed well. And the audience would devour this story when edited. Or so they thought. After the main interview, it was confessionals time, solo shots where guests speak alone to the camera. Nicole sat under the soft, warm light of camera C. Her mic was clipped tightly to her sweater. "Okay," Sheeta said. "Whenever you're ready." Nicole inhaled, exhaled, and then, "I just hope they don't ask me for real proof tomorrow." She said it under her breath. Barely audible. Barely intended for anyone. But the mic was still hot. And the camera was still rolling. Sheeta's eyes widened. Bilal froze mid-step behind her. The assistant editor's mouth fell open. There was no misunderstanding it. No room to reinterpret. No way to soften what it meant. Nicole didn't have proof. And she knew she didn't have it. The story she had built, the emotion, the heartbreak, the betrayal, was missing its spine. It might all be a lie. But they couldn't react yet. They were still filming. Sheeta motioned quietly to cut the confessional angle. Nicole looked up, oblivious. "Did it sound okay?" she asked. Bilal forced a small smile. "Thank you, Nicole. We'll review the footage." Inside, though, he was already shifting. His calm exterior couldn't hide the storm beginning behind his eyes. At 2 a.m. the crew took a break. People grabbed snacks, checked phones, stretched their legs. Nicole stepped outside to take a call. Bilal wandered into the control room, looking for the updated notes he had scribbled earlier. He opened drawers, folders, and envelopes, normal production mess. Except for one envelope. White. Thin. Unlabeled. He picked it up. Inside was a small photograph and a folded receipt. He exhaled sharply. The photograph showed Nicole with a group of people. But the date stamp didn't match anything in her story. The location didn't match either. And the receipt was for a courier service, dated 2 months before her claimed confrontation. None of it aligned with the narrative she had just told on camera. Bilal walked back to Sheeta, his expression firm. "You need to see this," he said quietly. Sheeta took the envelope, scanned the contents, and felt her heart pull tight. Nicole didn't just lack proof. The proof contradicted her own story completely. This wasn't storytelling. This wasn't exaggeration. This wasn't emotional confusion. This was a lie. A lie told on camera. A lie told confidently. A lie told to millions of viewers who believed in the channel's honesty. Sheeta's breath steadied. She knew they had a decision to make. They could ignore it. They could hide it. They could pretend the mic slip hadn't happened. But that wasn't who she was. And that wasn't who Bilal was. So when Nicole returned to the set, the temperature in the room had changed. And none of them could predict what would happen next. Nicole walked back into the studio with the relaxed confidence of someone who believed everything was still under her control. She held her phone in one hand, a half-eaten mint in the other, humming a soft tune like nothing had happened. The crew looked up but quickly pretended to be busy. No one wanted to be the first to make eye contact. Sheeta stepped forward slowly, her expression unreadable. She had 2 decades of experience managing chaotic sets, but this wasn't technical chaos. This was moral chaos. It was the kind of situation that divided teams, damaged reputations, and broke trust in ways no editor could ever repair. Bilal stood near the camera track, arms folded, back straight. He wasn't angry yet, he was focused. That always meant trouble for whoever was sitting on the interview chair. "Ready to continue?" Nicole asked cheerfully. Nobody answered. The silence wrapped around her like smoke. Sheeta finally spoke, her voice steady. "Nicole, before we roll again, we need to talk." Nicole froze for half a second. It was small but noticeable. Her smile stiffened, and her fingers twitched around the phone. She hit it quickly, but not quickly enough for a trained observer like Sheeta. "Talk about what?" Nicole asked lightly. Sheeta didn't reply immediately. Instead, she walked to the interview chair and tapped it. "Have a seat." There were no cameras rolling. No lights pointed at Nicole. This wasn't part of the show. This was real. Nicole set her phone aside and sat, her posture still flawless. But her breathing changed deeper, faster. Bilal stepped closer to Sheeta. He placed the envelope on the table in front of Nicole. Nicole's eyes flicked to it. For the first time that night, her expression cracked. "What's that?" she whispered. "You tell us," Bilal replied. Nicole touched the envelope with trembling fingers, opened it slowly, and pulled out the photograph. The moment she saw it, the color drained from her face. "That's my picture," she mumbled. "Yes," Sheeta said. "But not from the night you described." Nicole swallowed hard. Her throat tightened. Her ears flushed pink. "And the receipt," Bilal continued. "It's dated months before the night you said you discovered the betrayal. None of it matches." Nicole blinked fast. I can explain." Sheeta held up a hand. "No. Before you explain, I want to know one thing." "What?" Nicole asked, voice cracking. "Is the story you told us on camera true?" Nicole hesitated. A dangerous hesitation. A hesitation that felt like the moment before glass shatters. "I told what I remembered," she said quietly. Bilal stepped forward. "That's not what your confessional said." Nicole's head shot up. "My what?" "You whispered that you hoped we wouldn't ask for real proof," Sheeta said. "Your mic was still on." Nicole's hands flew to her mouth. I didn't mean." Sheeta cut her off gently but firmly. "Nicole, we need the truth. Now." Nicole ran her fingers through her hair in a sudden burst of panic. "Okay," she whispered. Maybe I exaggerated some parts." "Which parts?" Bilal asked. Nicole looked at the photo again as if searching for a new answer inside it. "The dates," she said. "And maybe the message I saw wasn't exactly what I said it was. And maybe the confrontation didn't happen that night." Sheeta raised an eyebrow. "So the timeline is false." Nicole pressed her lips together, unable to deny it. "And the photograph?" Bilal asked. Nicole hesitated again. "It's from another time. But it still shows the people involved." "No," Sheeta said calmly. "It doesn't." Nicole stared down at her hands. She had been caught. Completely. Irreversibly. After a long silence, Nicole finally exhaled. "I didn't want to lie," she said. "I just wanted the story to be stronger. To be worth filming." "So you changed the truth?" Sheeta asked. Nicole nodded, tears filling her eyes. "I've been ghosted by other shows," she said. "They said my experiences weren't dramatic enough. That my story wouldn't get views. I thought if I made it more intense, you'd finally hear me." Her voice broke. Bilal's expression softened for a moment, but he didn't let his guard down completely. "You could have told us that," he said. "We work with honesty. That's our whole brand." Nicole wiped her face with the back of her hand. "I didn't want another rejection." Around them, the crew had slowly gathered. A camera operator leaned against the light stand, lips pressed tight. The makeup artist stood frozen, brush in hand. The sound tech shook his head in disappointment. No one said anything aloud, but their silence spoke louder than shouting ever could. Nicole saw their expressions. Her guilt sharpened. "I wasn't trying to manipulate you," she whispered. "I just wanted my pain to matter." Sheeta softened slightly, but only slightly. "It does matter," she said. "But pain isn't an excuse to fabricate evidence." Nicole looked devastated. Bilal crossed his arms. "So what do we do now?" he asked. A crew member from the back spoke up hesitantly. "Do we confront her on camera?" Nicole gasped and shook her head violently. "No, please don't make it public. Please. I'll fix it. I'll admit the issue. But not on camera. Please." The room became tense again. Sheeta knew the ethical implications. If they exposed Nicole publicly without her consent, it would appear exploitative. But if they hid the truth, it would destroy the credibility of the show. The decision wasn't simple. "We're not filming anything else tonight," Sheeta said finally. "We need time to think." Nicole sagged in relief, but it didn't last. Bilal turned to her. You do realize viewers trust us because we don't hide things like this. Nicole's face fell. I know, she whispered. As the crew dispersed, Nicole grabbed her bag and began packing her things quickly, almost frantically. She was shaking, her eyes darting nervously around the room. Sheeta watched her closely. Something felt wrong again. Nicole, Sheeta called quietly. What's in your bag? Nicole froze. Then she hugged the bag closer. It's just my stuff, she said too quickly. That's not an answer, Bilal said. Sheeta stepped forward. Open it. Nicole shook her head. No. Nicole, Sheeta said, her voice firm but calm. Open it. Nicole burst into tears, hands trembling as she unzipped her bag. She pulled out a sweater, a notebook, a water bottle, and then a second envelope, identical to the first. Sheeta's heart dropped. She took the envelope, opened it and pulled out another photo, another receipt, another set of proof. All of it mismatched, all of it incorrect. Nicole collapsed into the interview chair, sobbing uncontrollably. I was trying to create a timeline, she cried. I thought if I pieced things together it would look more real. Sheeta and Bilal exchanged a horrified look. This wasn't a simple lie. This was premeditated. Bilal was the first to speak. Nicole, this was an exaggeration. You came prepared with fake evidence. Nicole covered her ears. I wasn't lying for attention. I was lying for clarity. I was trying to fill the gaps in my memory. That's not how truth works, Sheeta said quietly. Nicole shook her head, tears pouring down her face. You don't understand. People only listen when something sounds dramatic. My real life is messy and confusing and scattered. I wanted it to make sense. But you didn't make sense, Bilal said. You made fiction. Nicole curled into herself, overwhelmed. Sheeta took a deep breath. We can't continue the episode, she said. Nicole looked up terrified. Are you firing me? You're not an employee, Bilal said. You're a guest. And guests can't lie on a show built on truth. Nicole cried harder. Please don't do this. We're not kicking you out, Sheeta said gently. But we need to pause production. And tomorrow? Nicole asked weakly. We'll see, Sheeta replied. But Nicole heard the truth in her tone. There was no we'll see. There was no overnight miracle. There was no version of this story that could be filmed now. The trust was gone. The studio emptied slowly after Sheeta announced the pause. People packed up equipment in silence, their movements stiff, avoiding eye contact with Nicole. No one wanted to make her feel worse, but no one wanted to lie to her either. Nicole stayed seated on the interview chair, trembling. Her mascara streaked down her cheeks, her hands twisted in her lap. She looked small in a way she hadn't at the beginning of the night. Earlier she had looked controlled, polished, powerful even. Now she looked like someone realizing the consequences of a mistake she couldn't undo. Bilal stepped away first, heading toward the hallway. He needed a breather. He was good at keeping calm, but even he had limits. Tonight had pushed him close to them. Sheeta remained for a moment, watching Nicole quietly. She didn't hate her. She wasn't even angry in the way one might expect. Her frustration was deeper, rooted in the trust her show needed to survive. Viewers tuned in because they believed the stories were honest. A lie, especially a constructed, intentional one, could damage everything. Nicole finally spoke, her voice thin. Am I the worst person you've ever worked with? Sheeta shook her head slowly. No, you're not. But this is serious, Nicole. Nicole wiped at her face. I didn't think it would go this far. I didn't think anyone would find out. She said it softly, almost to herself. That sentence hit Sheeta harder than anything else. It wasn't regret about lying. It was regret about being caught. In the hallway, Bilal leaned against the wall, rubbing his forehead. The envelope and the second envelope still burned in his mind. He replayed every moment. The perfect delivery of Nicole's story, the flawless emotional timing, the fabricated evidence, and how she'd almost gotten away with it. He had interviewed hundreds of people. Some exaggerated. Some cried harder than reality demanded. Some softened details to protect loved ones. But deliberate lies supported by props, were different. They weren't just disrespectful to the show, but to the viewers who poured their own emotions into each video. The show had helped people heal, helped them speak up, helped them tell the truth. And tonight, someone had tried to turn that into a stage. A crew member approached him carefully. "Bilal, you okay?" He nodded, though he wasn't. "I'll be fine. Just processing." The crew member hesitated. "Do you think we should still air any part of it?" Bilal didn't answer. He honestly didn't know. Nicole remained seated, unable to move. She felt trapped by the silence around her. She could hear footsteps, whispers, equipment being wheeled away. But all of it felt like sounds from far away. She finally stood and walked toward Sheeta. "I didn't mean to ruin your show," she said. Sheeta looked up from her notes. "You didn't ruin the show. You made a mistake. A big one. But mistakes can be handled honestly." Nicole shook her head. "But honest people don't make mistakes like this." "That's not true," Sheeta replied. "Honest people hide pain all the time. They're just better at admitting when they cross a line." Nicole's voice wavered. "So what happens next?" Sheeta sighed. "We sleep. We think. And we talk in the morning." Nicole looked terrified. "That's it. That's it." Sometimes the simplest answer is the hardest to accept. Once Nicole was escorted to the waiting area to calm down, Sheeta gathered the remaining crew in the green room. Their faces were a mix of confusion, frustration, and exhaustion. Sheeta stood at the front. "I know tonight was messy," she began, "and emotional. But we need to talk about what comes next." One of the camera operators spoke up first. "We can't air this, right?" A boom mic operator added. "It'll destroy our credibility." The assistant director disagreed. "But hiding it makes us look dishonest. People will find out anyway." Everyone started talking at once. "She lied to us." "But what about her mental state?" "The viewers deserve truth." "Do we expose her? Do we protect her? What if this goes viral? What if sponsors pull out?" Sheeta raised her hand. "Quiet." The room fell still. "We're not making decisions tonight," she said calmly. "We need clarity first. And clarity doesn't come at 2:30 in the morning." The crew exchanged looks. They knew she was right. "We'll meet again tomorrow," Sheeta said. "Until then, no one posts, shares, or leaks anything from tonight. We owe each other professionalism." Everyone nodded. They trusted Sheeta. She had let them through worse. But tonight felt different. In the waiting area, Nicole sat hugging her knees to her chest. The room was dim, the air cold. She stared at the floor tiles, each one blurring as tears gathered again. She whispered to herself, "I was just trying to matter." She remembered every time someone told her she was too quiet, too plain, too unmemorable. She remembered the shows that ghosted her. The producers who said her story lacked punch. She wanted to be heard so badly that she built a version of her truth that sounded stronger, cleaner, sharper. She thought it would get attention. She didn't think it would get her caught. When the door opened, she flinched. But it wasn't Sheeta. It wasn't Bilal. It was a production assistant offering her a blanket. Nicole broke down again. After the crew left, Sheeta found Bilal still in the hallway. "We need to talk," she said. He nodded. They walked into the small editing bay, the quietest room in the building. Screens glowed softly, showing paused frames from Nicole's interview. The emotional tears, the intense eye contact, the carefully delivered phrases. Bilal exhaled sharply. "She was good," he said. "Too good." "She practiced," Sheeta replied. "She rehearsed every beat." Bilal ran a hand through his hair. "Do you think she knew we'd find out?" "No," Sheeta said. "If she did, she wouldn't have brought extra envelopes." "That part," Bilal sighed. "That scared me. It meant she came prepared. It wasn't a slip. It was a plan." Sheeta didn't argue. She felt the same. "So what do we do?" Bilal asked. Sheeta kept her eyes on the paused frame. We tell the truth, she said. But carefully. The channel had always been about emotional honesty. They didn't script storylines. They didn't force drama. They didn't exaggerate events. But tonight, someone tried to turn real storytelling into a manufactured performance. It wasn't just risky, it was dangerous. If they aired a fabricated story, viewers would feel betrayed. If they hid the fabrication, sponsors might accuse them of enabling deception. If they exposed Nicole harshly, they could face backlash for humiliating a guest. There was no perfect option. And that's exactly why Shida needed time. We'll handle it, she said quietly. One step at a time. Bilal nodded. Get some rest, he told her. You too. Neither of them would sleep well, but they still tried. Nicole stayed in the waiting area for another hour, too ashamed to ask for a ride home. The blanket around her shoulders felt heavy. She felt like a child who had done something unforgivable. She whispered into the silence. Why did I do this? Why did I ruin everything? When she finally stood up, her legs felt weak. She walked to the mirror near the exit and looked at herself. Not the polished version she presented at the beginning of the night. Not the confident storyteller. Not the woman with a tragic narrative and perfect evidence. Just Nicole. A person who had wanted to matter so badly that she created a lie big enough to collapse under its own weight. When she walked out into the cold night, she knew the truth. Tomorrow would decide everything. Her reputation. Her relationship with the show. Her future on or off camera. But for now, she walked alone into the darkness, unsure what awaited her. Morning arrived too quickly. The studio always felt different in daylight. Softer. Less dramatic. But today the light didn't soften anything. It only revealed the tension still hanging in the air. Most of the crew arrived earlier than usual. Nobody said it aloud, but everyone wanted to know what would happen next. Would Nicole return? Would they film again? Would the entire episode be thrown out? The uncertainty hovered like dust caught in sunlight. Shida walked in at 9 a.m., coffee in hand, exhausted but composed. She had barely slept. Her mind had replayed every detail of the night before. Nicole's panic, the envelopes, the contradiction, the fear. But Shida wasn't angry this morning. She wasn't even disappointed. She was determined. Behind her, Bilal walked in wearing a simple gray hoodie, face tight with focus. He looked like someone preparing for a difficult conversation that couldn't be avoided. Everyone in the conference room, please, Shida said. The crew obeyed immediately. They gathered around the table, the camera operators, the production assistants, the editor, and the sound team. Everyone looked toward the door as if expecting Nicole to walk in at any moment. She said she'd come, Bilal said quietly, reading the question in their eyes. Shida nodded. She needs to speak for herself. We won't talk about her without her present. Some crew members exchanged skeptical looks. What if she doesn't show? One of them asked. She will, Shida replied. But even she wasn't fully sure. At 9:17 a.m. the door opened. Nicole stepped inside. She looked nothing like the version of herself from last night. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her hair wasn't styled. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Her hands were clasped tightly, as if she was holding herself together. The room fell into an uncomfortable silence. Nicole took a deep breath. Thank you for letting me come back, she said softly. Shida gestured to a seat. Sit down. Nicole sat at the far end of the table, shoulders hunched. Bilal leaned forward. Nicole, before we begin, do you feel ready to talk? She nodded. I owe all of you the truth. The room braced itself. Nicole's voice shook, but she forced herself to speak. I lied, she said plainly. Not just a little. A lot. No one reacted. They listened. I didn't have proof. I brought envelopes with old receipts and random photos, thinking I could assemble a story. She swallowed hard. I thought if everything lined up visually, the emotional truth would make sense. But I know that's not how this works. She looked at Bilal, then at Shida. I wasn't trying to deceive the audience. I was trying to organize my trauma. But I took a shortcut. And shortcuts have consequences. Tears filled her eyes again. I'm so sorry. The apology hung in the air. Some crew members softened. Others didn't. Not because they were cruel, but because trust takes longer to rebuild than break. Bilal spoke next. Why didn't you just tell your real experience? Why create something new? Nicole closed her eyes for a moment. Because my real story is messy, she said. It doesn't fit into clean timelines or dramatic beats. It's confusing. It makes me look indecisive, weak, emotional. And I thought no show would care about that kind of story. She looked directly at Shiida. I wanted to be worth filming. Those words cut deeper than any evidence ever could. Shiida straightened her posture. Nicole, are you willing to tell the real story now? Without exaggeration. Without props. Without adjusting memories. Nicole hesitated. I can try. No, Shiida said gently. We don't want you to try. We want you to tell the truth. If that means your story takes time or doesn't have dramatic moments, that's okay. Our job is to help you tell it honestly. Nicole nodded slowly. I understand. The sound tech raised his hand. What about the footage from last night? Do we delete it? The room stiffened again. Everyone waited for Shiida and Bilal. We can't just delete it, Bilal said. There's too much that happened. Too much context. Too much responsibility. So what then? The editor asked. Shiida took a breath. We're going to address it openly. Nicole's eyes widened in fear. Please don't expose everything, she whispered. We won't humiliate you, Shiida said. But we won't lie to our viewers either. The audience trusts this show. They trust that what they watch is real. Nicole flinched but didn't argue. Just as the meeting seemed to reach stability, something unexpected happened. The young production assistant, Jalen, who had handed Nicole the blanket last night, spoke up for the first time. I think there's something you all need to know. Everyone turned to him. He looked nervous, but he continued anyway. Last night after the set cleared, Nicole wasn't just crying. She was rehearsing lines. Nicole's head snapped up. What? No, I wasn't. Jalen shook his head. I heard you. You were practicing ways to explain the evidence. Different versions. Different timelines. You said things like, maybe if I say the receipt was from another incident, and maybe I can blame editing. The room froze. Nicole stared at him in shock. That's not. I didn't mean. Shiida's stomach tightened. Nicole, she said carefully. Is that true? Nicole's breathing quickened. It wasn't rehearsing, she insisted. I was panicking. I was thinking out loud. Trying to find a way to fix everything. But you weren't telling the truth, Jalen said quietly. You were trying to find a story that would protect you. Nicole buried her face in her hands. I didn't know what else to do. Bilal pushed his chair back slowly. I can handle exaggeration, he said. I can handle fear. I can handle emotional confusion. But rehearsing a lie? Practicing explanations? That's not a mistake. That's manipulation. Nicole sobbed harder, folding into herself. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. But you did, Bilal replied. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't lash out. He didn't call her names. He just stated it plainly. And that made it hurt more. Nicole stood abruptly, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. I'm not a villain, she cried. I didn't come here to trick anyone. I came because I needed someone to finally take me seriously. Her voice cracked painfully. All my life, people told me my problems weren't real. That I was dramatic. That I was overreacting. So I made my story louder, sharper, cleaner. And I thought, maybe then someone would listen. The room fell silent. Nicole sobbed into her hands. I never thought someone would actually care about my real truth. Those words struck Bilal in the chest. He sat back down slowly. Shiida stood and walked toward Nicole with calm professionalism. Nicole, she said softly, nobody thinks you're a villain. But we need to work with honesty. Nicole nodded through tears. I can be honest now. I swear. I believe you're trying, Sheeta replied. But we need more than effort. We need transparency. Nicole looked up with red, swollen eyes. So what do you want me to do? Sheeta paused. We need you to tell your real story on camera. Nicole froze. No. I can't. Not after everything. You can, Sheeta said. And you will. But only when you're ready. The room waited. Bilal spoke quietly. What if the real story is enough? What if you don't need drama? What if just being honest makes your story powerful? Nicole stared at him. Nobody had ever said that to her before. Do you really think people will listen to the real me? She whispered. Bilal nodded. If you let them. Nicole's tears slowed. For the first time since entering the room, she looked less frantic. Less cornered. More human. Sheeta added. And this time no envelopes. Nicole let out a shaky, embarrassed laugh. The crew joined her softly. For a brief moment the tension in the room cracked, and a little warmth leaked through. We're not filming today, Sheeta announced. Everyone go home. Rest. We regroup tomorrow. What about the footage? The editor asked again. We keep it, Sheeta said. But we don't use it without a plan. Nicole nodded slowly. I want to make things right, she whispered. Tomorrow, Sheeta repeated. We'll see where we stand. As everyone left the room, Nicole stayed seated. She wasn't asked to leave. She wasn't escorted out. She was given a chance. But a chance could either repair everything or crumble under pressure again. Tomorrow would decide which one. The next day arrived with a strange quietness. Not tension. Not fear. Just quiet. Everyone knew what they were walking into. But nobody knew how it would unfold. Today wasn't about filming. It wasn't about drama. It wasn't even about Nicole's mistake anymore. Today was about truth. And whether Nicole was ready to face hers. Sheeta entered the studio at noon, feeling more rested but still cautious. She'd spent the morning reviewing the footage, rewatching the confessional clip, and replaying every moment where the story fell apart. She wasn't trying to be judgmental. She was trying to understand the emotional roadmap of someone who lied out of desperation. Bilal walked in shortly after holding 2 coffees. One for himself. One for Sheeta. He handed it to her wordlessly. Thanks, she said. He nodded. Ready for today? Ready enough, she replied. They headed toward the conference room where the crew was gathering again. Nicole was already there. Nicole looked up as Sheeta and Bilal entered. She wasn't crying. She wasn't panicked. She wasn't performing. She looked calm. Maybe too calm. The crew watched her carefully, unsure of what to expect. But Nicole was different this morning. She sat upright, hands folded on the table, eyes steady. She cleared her throat. I didn't sleep, she admitted. But I did think. A lot. And I'm ready to tell you what really happened. Sheeta and Bilal took their seats. Whenever you're ready, Sheeta said. Nicole inhaled slowly. This is the real story, she began. No dramatics. No timelines. No fake evidence. Just me. Nicole's voice was soft, but this time it wasn't shaky. It was steady. Real. My relationship with my ex didn't end because of cheating, she said. He didn't betray me in the dramatic way I described. The truth is, he left because I wasn't doing well mentally. The room shifted quietly. Nicole continued. I struggled with anxiety, panic attacks. I couldn't hold a job for long. I kept apologizing for things that weren't my fault, and also avoiding things that were my responsibility. He tried to help, but I kept pushing him away. She looked down. And when he finally walked out, I didn't fight him. I didn't scream. I didn't confront him with evidence. I just shut down. The confession felt heavy but honest. When he left, she continued, I felt worthless. And when I tried to tell friends or coworkers, they would say things like, oh, it can't be that bad. Or, everyone has problems. Nobody believed my pain because it didn't look dramatic. Her eyes glistened, but she didn't break. So I learned to make my pain louder, sharper, more intense. Every time I told the story, I added something so they would listen. Eventually, I couldn't tell where truth ended and performance began. She smiled sadly. And last night, I crossed the biggest line of all. The crew listened in absolute silence. Nicole took a breath. My story isn't about cheating, she said. It's about feeling invisible. Feeling like the only way to matter was to build something big enough to force people to look at me. She looked at Sheeta. But I don't want to do that anymore. Nobody spoke for a long time. Even Bilal, who always seemed to have something to say, stayed quiet. He watched Nicole with a mixture of empathy and caution. He wasn't ready to trust her completely, but he could feel the sincerity in her voice. Finally, Sheeta broke the silence. Thank you, she said. That was brave. Nicole nodded slowly. It felt scary, she said. But good. One of the camera operators spoke up softly. Honestly, that story hits harder than the fake one. Nicole's eyes widened. What? He shrugged. The real stuff always hits harder. People want honesty more than drama. Nicole let out a shaky laugh. I wish I had known that sooner. Bilal leaned forward. I have a thought, he said. It's not a final decision. Just an idea. Everyone turned toward him. What if, he continued, we make a different kind of episode? Not the story you tried to tell. Not even the story you made up. But the real story of last night. Nicole blinked. You mean talk about the lie? Talk about everything, Bilal said. The pressure to perform. The fear of being boring. The temptation to exaggerate. The chaos of the set when things fell apart. Your real struggle. Nicole swallowed. That would destroy me online. Or, Sheeta said gently, it could save you. The room tensed with possibility. Sheeta continued. There are thousands of people who feel exactly what you felt. People who think their pain isn't real unless it looks dramatic. People who lie to be heard. If you're honest about your mistake, you won't look foolish. You'll look human. Nicole stared at her hands. And what if people hate me? They might, Sheeta said. But they won't hate the truth. Nicole shook her head. I don't know if I can handle that level of exposure. You already exposed yourself last night, Bilal said gently. But without control. This time you can do it with clarity. With honesty. With support. Nicole squeezed her eyes shut. I don't want to be the girl who lied for attention, she whispered. You won't be, Sheeta said. You'll be the woman who admitted it publicly and used it to grow. The crew nodded quietly. Nicole opened her eyes slowly. I'm terrified. That's how you know you're telling the truth, Bilal replied. One by one the crew members spoke. I think people will understand, the editor said. You'd be surprised how many viewers relate to feeling invisible, the lighting tech added. The raw honesty could reach more people than the original episode ever would, the sound tech said. Nicole's breath trembled. You all really think this could work? It's not about work, Sheeta said. It's about healing. Nicole lowered her head. She was trembling, but not from shame this time. From possibility. Finally, Nicole straightened her back and wiped her eyes. Okay, she said. Her voice wavered but didn't break. If we're doing this, if we're really doing this, then I want to be honest from the start. She looked at Bilal. I'm sorry. Then at Sheeta. I'm really sorry. Then at the crew. I lied because I thought the truth wasn't enough. But maybe it is. And I want viewers to know what really happened. I want them to know why I did it. I want them to understand. She took a deep breath. I want to tell the real story. On camera. A few crew members exhaled with relief. Sheeta smiled softly. Bilal nodded, impressed. Then we'll film tomorrow, Sheeta said. Not today. You need rest. We all do. Nicole nodded, a small, grateful smile appearing. Tomorrow, she repeated. Just as the meeting was ending, one of the interns rushed into the room breathless. You need to see this, he said, holding up his phone. Sheeta frowned. What happened? The intern turned the screen toward them. "It's Nicole," he said. "She's trending online." Nicole's face drained of color. "What? How? I didn't post anything." But the intern continued. "Someone leaked a clip from last night." Everyone went cold. Sheeta grabbed the phone. On the screen was a grainy, shaky video recorded from behind a light stand. It showed Nicole's voice cracking. It showed the envelope. It showed her saying, "I hope they don't ask for real proof." The clip had already reached thousands of views. Hundreds of comments. Nicole's breath caught in her throat. "This can't be happening," she whispered. But it was. The truth had leaked before they could control it. And now the entire world was watching. The room went silent. Not the quiet of concentration. Not the quiet of tension. A stunned, collapsing silence. Nicole stared at the intern's phone like it was showing the end of her life. Her lips parted, her breath quickened, and her hands started shaking uncontrollably. "No, no, no, no," she whispered. "This wasn't supposed to be public. This wasn't supposed to happen." Sheeta swallowed hard. "Who posted it?" she asked, her voice sharper than before. "We don't know," the intern said. "The video was uploaded anonymously. The caption says, 'Guest caught lying on emotional show set.'" Nicole's knees buckled, and she sank into a chair as if her body couldn't hold her weight anymore. Bilal took the phone from the intern and scrolled through the comments. His face hardened with every line he read. Classic clout chaser. She lied for attention, obviously. Throw her off the show. Expose her name. This is why you can't trust emotional storytelling channels anymore. It was brutal. Fast. Unforgiving. Nicole covered her face. "No, please, this can't be happening." Sheeta clapped her hands once. A sharp, commanding sound. "Everyone listen," she said. "Nobody panic." But the crew already looked terrified. Not for themselves. For the show. For the reputation they had built for years. For the credibility now hanging by a thread. "This leak affects all of us," Sheeta continued. "So we respond as a team." She turned to the intern. "Send me a link to the video. Right now." He nodded and tapped quickly. Sheeta stepped aside, reviewing it again on her phone. The clip was short, maybe 20 seconds, but enough to ignite a firestorm. She felt anger rising, not at Nicole, but at whoever filmed and leaked a private, off-camera moment. The betrayal wasn't just against Nicole, but against the entire production. Bilal approached her quietly. "This isn't just a mistake anymore," he said. "This is a crisis." "I know," Sheeta replied. "And we're going to handle it." Nicole was spiraling. "This will ruin me," she sobbed. "People will think I'm a fraud. They'll think I came here to scam the show. They'll attack me online. They'll go after my family. My job." Bilal stepped forward. "Nicole." But she couldn't hear him. "My face is all over the internet. I can't fix this. I can't fix anything. I shouldn't have come. I should have stayed quiet." She collapsed into full crying now, shoulders shaking, breath sharp, body folding inward. A production assistant knelt beside her and placed a hand gently on her back. "We're here," she whispered. "You're not alone." Nicole shook her head violently. "Everyone hates me." "Not here," the assistant said. "We don't hate you." Nicole looked up through blurry eyes. "Then why does it feel like the whole world wants me gone?" She didn't realize. The world didn't know her story yet. Only the worst-looking clip. Sheeta and Bilal called everyone back into the conference room for an emergency meeting. The crew filed in with heavy expressions. Sheeta stood at the front. "Here's the situation," she said. "Someone leaked a clip from last night. It's spreading fast. Comments are tearing Nicole apart. And they're beginning to drag the show with it." "Should we release a statement?" the editor asked. "Not yet," Bilal said. "If we speak too soon, we might make it worse." "What about the full context?" the camera operator suggested. "If people saw the full footage, they'd understand." "No," Sheeta said. "We don't post anything until Nicole gives consent." The room fell quiet. Nicole looked up surprised. You'd protect me? After everything? Sheeta nodded firmly. You're a guest. A human being. And until you tell us otherwise, we protect your dignity. Nicole wiped her eyes again. Thank you, she whispered. Bilal leaned forward, voice low. But we need to address something else. He scanned the room. Someone here leaked that footage. Everyone froze. A camera operator raised his hands immediately. It wasn't me. Not me either, the lighting tech said quickly. The sound team shook their heads. The intern looked horrified that anyone might suspect him. Bilal wasn't accusing. He was analyzing. Only people who stayed late had access, he said. And only someone close enough to the set could film that angle. Sheeta pointed at the phone. The camera was behind light stand B, she said. Who was on that side during Nicole's confessional? A pause. Then a soft voice. I was. Everyone turned. It was the makeup artist. A quiet woman named Danny, who rarely spoke and never caused trouble. She looked pale. I didn't post it, she said quickly, hands shaking. But I did record it. Nicole gasped. Why would you do that? Danny squeezed her eyes shut. I wasn't trying to expose you. I wasn't even thinking clearly. I recorded it because I was shocked, and I wanted to show Sheeta later. Privately. To make sure we handled it right. Then how did it get online? Bilal asked gently. Danny swallowed. My phone was stolen on the subway last night. The room went ice cold. You're saying someone else uploaded it? Sheeta asked. Danny nodded, tears filling her eyes. I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to get out. Nicole stared at her, trembling. But it's out. And now everyone thinks I'm a liar. Danny cried softly. I never wanted to hurt you. Nicole looked away, unable to respond. Sheeta stood straighter. Okay, she said. Listen to me. This isn't about blame anymore. We have a crisis and now we manage it. Bilal nodded. Our reputation is bleeding. Nicole is hurting. The audience is confused. We need a plan. What kind of plan? The editor asked. A transparent one, Sheeta said. But controlled. And fast, Bilal added. Every hour we stay silent makes it worse. Nicole stood suddenly. I can't do this, she said. Her voice was breaking. Her hands were shaking again. I can't be the girl trending for lying. I can't be the villain everyone hates. I can't be the reason your show gets destroyed. I never wanted any of this. She covered her face. I don't deserve a second chance. I don't deserve to tell my real story. I should just disappear. The room felt her pain like a punch. Sheeta walked toward her calmly. No, she said softly. No disappearing. That's not how this ends. Nicole shook her head. You don't understand. People online don't forgive. Some do, Bilal said. And the ones who don't? They forget. But the people who matter, the people who see the truth, they stay. Nicole's shoulders trembled. What truth? All they saw was me panicking. Exactly, Sheeta said. They saw you overwhelmed. Flawed. Human. Not malicious. Nicole looked up slowly. But they think I lied. You did, Sheeta said honestly. But you also explained why. And that explanation matters more than the lie. Nicole blinked, trying to understand. You think people will care? I think people will relate, Bilal said. Then Sheeta spoke the words that changed everything. Nicole, we can release the truth. Nicole froze. What truth? The real story, Sheeta said. What happened last night? What actually went wrong? Why you felt pressured to exaggerate? How the clip leaked? Everything. Nicole's voice cracked. You want to make an episode about this? Only, Sheeta said. If you agree. Nicole looked terrified. Then hopeful. Then terrified again. Wouldn't that make me look worse? No, Bilal said quietly. It would make you look real. Nicole's breath caught. And what if I'm not ready? Then we won't film, Sheeta said. But the internet won't stop talking. And the only way to take back control is to speak. Nicole stared at the phone again, at her name trending, at strangers tearing her apart. She whispered, "I want to tell my story. The real story. On my own terms." She looked at Bilal and Sheeta. "Help me." Sheeta nodded once. "We will." The studio felt different the next morning. Not heavy like before. Not frantic like during the leak, but focused. Calm in a serious way. Everyone had slept poorly. Everyone had thought too much. Everyone knew today was the day the entire situation would either heal or break completely. Nicole arrived early. She wasn't shaking this time. She wasn't crying. She wasn't performing. She walked in quietly with her hands tucked into her sleeves, wearing a simple hoodie and jeans. No makeup. No practiced expression. No envelopes. Sheeta watched her approach the set. "You came," she said. Nicole nodded. "I said I would." Bilal stepped in from the hallway and gave Nicole a small nod. He didn't smile, but he didn't look guarded either. Just steady. Present. "Are you ready?" he asked. Nicole took a breath. As ready as someone can be before exposing their soul on camera. Bilal allowed a small, understanding exhale. That's usually when the best stories happen. The crew prepared the space with a new approach. No dramatic lighting. No heightened mood. No emotional soundtrack playing in the background. Just a chair. A camera. A guest. And the truth. Sheeta walked Nicole through the plan. "This isn't an interrogation," she said. "This is your chance to be honest. To explain everything, from the lie to the panic to the leak, to the real story underneath." Nicole nodded slowly. "And if I break down?" she asked. "Then we keep filming," Sheeta replied softly. "Breakdowns are real. Real is what we're here for." Nicole looked toward camera, steady, simple, honest. "This time," she whispered, "I'm not afraid of being imperfect." Sheeta moved behind the monitor. Sound. Speed. Camera. Rolling. Sheeta tapped her clipboard softly. Nicole truth session. Final recording. And action. The room quieted. Nicole looked straight into the camera, her breathing steady. "My name is Nicole," she began. "And everything you heard about me in that leaked clip is true. But not in the way people think." She paused. "I lied last night. Not because I wanted fame. Not because I wanted attention. Not because I wanted to manipulate anyone." Her eyes softened. "I lied because I didn't think the truth was enough." She explained everything. The pressure to be dramatic. The insecurity of feeling invisible. The fear of having a boring story. The panic when she realized she'd gone too far. The desperation that made her grab old envelopes and force them into a narrative. She didn't cry immediately. She held herself together with quiet strength. But when she reached the part about feeling unworthy, her voice trembled. "I've spent years hearing people say your problems aren't real. Or everyone goes through things like that. So I tried to make my story louder. I tried to reshape my pain into something people would respect." She took a shaky breath. "But pain shouldn't have to be dramatic to be valid." The crew stared at her through the monitor. Even the most experienced among them felt something move inside their chest. Nicole looked down at her hands. "I'm not proud of what I did. I'm not proud of lying. But I am proud that I'm sitting here now telling you the truth." She continued. "When the clip leaked, I thought my life was over." She described the panic, the drowning feeling, the humiliation of seeing strangers judge her from a 20-second video with no context. "But the truth is," she said, "that clip forced me to stop lying, not just to you but to myself." She looked up again. "I'm not the villain people think I am. I'm just someone who made a mistake because she didn't know how to value herself." Her eyes glistened now. "And I want to change that." Sheeta gave a small signal. Bilal stepped into frame, pulling up a chair beside Nicole. He didn't position himself like a host this time. He sat like a friend, like someone who wanted to understand, not critique. "Nicole," he said softly, "last night was hard for all of us. But today you're doing something a lot of people never do. You're owning it. Nicole looked at him, tears finally falling. I just didn't want you to hate me. Bilal shook his head. Hate? No. But I needed honesty. And now I have it. She let out a breath of relief. He asked her a few gentle questions. What she learned. What she feared. What she hoped the audience would understand. Nicole answered everything with clarity. It wasn't perfect. She stumbled. She second-guessed herself. She paused to breathe. But the imperfections made everything more powerful. Eventually, Sheeta stepped from behind the monitor and approached the set. She didn't come into the shot, but she stood close enough to speak. There's something I want the audience to know, she said. Nicole wasn't the only person who made mistakes last night. We did too. Nicole looked surprised. We should have paused filming earlier, Sheeta explained. We should have checked in with you emotionally. We should have created a safer space for you to tell your story without pressure. Nicole shook her head. No, this wasn't anyone's fault but mine. It was all of ours, Sheeta insisted gently. A lie doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens when pain doesn't have a safe place to land. Nicole's tears flowed harder. The crew's eyes softened. Even some camera operators blinked rapidly, trying not to show emotion. After nearly 2 hours of filming, Sheeta finally said, "And cut." A soft cheer rose, but not the energetic kind. Not the "we finished a perfect take" kind. It was a quiet, emotional cheer. A cheer of relief, gratitude, and healing. Nicole exhaled deeply, tears drying on her cheeks. "Did I do okay?" she asked. Sheeta smiled. "You did more than okay. You told the truth." Nicole wiped her face. "So what now? Do we post it?" "Not today," Sheeta said. "First we edit it carefully, respectfully, truthfully," Bilal added. "And then we let the audience decide what they think. Not based on a leak, based on your real story." Nicole nodded slowly. "For the first time," she whispered, "I'm not scared." 3 days later, after careful editing, fact-checking, and internal discussions, the new episode was posted publicly. The truth behind the lie. What really happened with Nicole. The thumbnail wasn't dramatic. No crying face. No exposed screenshots. No clickbait captions. Just Nicole sitting calmly in a chair with the title, "I want to tell the real story." Within an hour, comments flooded in. First cautious. Then emotional. "I actually understand her now. This is the most honest thing I've ever seen on YouTube. I felt this. I've lied before because I felt invisible too." Respect to the show for not exploiting her. Respect to Nicole for owning her truth. There were negative comments too, there always are. But they were drowned out by the overwhelming support from people who related to her struggle. Nicole watched the comment section with shaking hands. "They don't hate me," she whispered. "They actually understand." Bilal smiled. "Told you. People don't want perfection. They want real." Sheeta placed a hand on Nicole's shoulder. "You gave them real." Nicole wiped a tear. "For the first time in my life, I didn't have to fake anything." A week later, Nicole filmed a short follow-up message. Not scripted. Not directed. Not staged. She sat in her own bedroom, holding her phone. "Thank you," she said softly. "Not for forgiving me, but for hearing me." She posted it voluntarily. And the responses were warm, generous, human. Nicole didn't become a star. She didn't chase fame. She didn't try to rewrite herself again. She became something better. A real person with a real story that mattered. Not because it was dramatic. Not because it was perfect. Not because she performed it well. But because she finally told the truth. And for Sheeta and Bilal, this episode became one of the most important they'd ever produced. Not because it brought a huge audience, though it did, but because it reminded them why they started the show in the first place. To help people speak. To help people heal. To help people be human. Even when the cameras stop rolling.